much means at any given moment from right now until whenever we will be live. And we're probably live right now. So thank you guys for coming to watch. I'm really excited for today, doing something different, popping on and getting outside my typical portrait and wedding photography. And since it's Super Bowl Sunday this Sunday, I figured I'd bring on somebody who has actually shot the Super Bowl twice, because he is the official 49ers, San Francisco 49ers photographer, Terrell Lloyd. So how are you doing?
Hello, how you doing? Thanks, Vanessa, for having me. I appreciate the call this week to say, hey, would you come on my live, YouTube live channel to talk about sports? This is on the eve of Super Bowl, and I'm having withdrawals, after being in the Super Bowl last year and now sitting at home.
Yeah, because it was only last year, right, that you were there.
Exactly.
I did forget to ask the people I always have to ask because I'm paranoid. Tell me if you can hear and see us. Okay, someone said San Francisco represents, so they must hear us.
Okay, good. Good. I think there's a few fans that are out there, that follow the team, follow me and stuff like that. So, when I put out the information on Instagram and Facebook, a lot of people chimed in. They say they're going to try to connect and stuff like that. So are you going to show, are you recording this where it's going to play later on too as well?
Yeah, so this same link that you put out will be where the recording is when we're done being live. And there's no editing because I don't have time for that. So it's just going to be what it is.
It's unscripted, it's off the cuff, and we just have fun with it and what we're doing and stuff like that. Yeah.
That's the idea. Lisa Cannon just said, can I say shooting Super Bowl is my dream job? So you realize you have people's dream job.
This is true, and I can relate to that because I remember, and I told the story in some of my seminars and the talks that I've had and stuff like that. Growing up in San Francisco as a kid, not knowing that I was going to be a photographer, and so it was like I used to throw newspapers back in the day. I look younger, but I'm a little older. But I used to
we won't tell how old. You've had multiple careers. We'll get to that.
Okay, good. Yeah, so I used to throw newspapers back in the day, and I used to cut out pictures from the sporting greens on Mondays after 49ers games and would make my own photo books. So I've come full circle in the realm to be doing what I'm doing, and never thought that I was going to be a professional photographer. Now, my mother had cameras, when we were younger, and stuff like that, and I used to just take pictures there, but who would ever thought? So I've come full circle. Right. Yeah.
That's so crazy. And what did you do before this? Because you had a pretty exciting first career.
It's interesting because people say I'm like the most interesting man in person, right?
You are.
my first career, growing up also in San Francisco, I was one of the top junior bowlers growing up in San Francisco as a teenager. And I had aspirations of going out on a pro bowlers tour to become actually the first minority to win a title. That was my goal, right? And there had never been, an African-American that won a national title on tour. There was one that made it on TV. He was from Detroit. He didn't win. And that was my dream. And, I was able to fulfill that dream. I became a professional bowler at the age of 21 and went out on tour and, did it full time for about 3 years, did it part-time for 13 years after that. But early on, when I was a teenager, I got sick at 19 years old, and I was at the height of my game, and my lung collapsed out of the blue. And next thing I know, I'm in the hospital for a month. And
lung collapsing at 19?
At 19, and nobody hit me or anything like that. It was just out of the blue, and I went 2 days without knowing that. I felt sick, but didn't know what was what. And so when I had to go to the doctor, it was like he says, to my mother's like, your son's lung is collapsed on the right side, right? And they tried to avoid operation, but then they had to cut me on my right side here. And, after I rehabbed and got well, it took me about 8-9 months to get well. I couldn't move my arm the same way. So I had to change my game. So I was still good enough to go out on tour, but I would get tired a lot. So it's kind of like,
right.
But, at least I fulfilled that dream, and I became a professional bowler, and I shot, perfect games. I got rings for 300 games, 800 series, and so that was, my claim to fame. So I was at least able to compete at a high level.
See, I really wish maybe we hadn't told the story and we could have done like a beer league and been like, yeah, let's do it for a little money and you'd be on my team. It's just for fun.
But back in the day, believe me, we did go to bowling alleys and hustle some people though back in the day.
Did you really? That's awesome. So how did you get from professional bowling, clipping pictures, you know, when you were younger to where you're sitting now, which by the way, guys, he is sitting in the 49ers stadium at the moment in one of his 2 offices.
Well, I'm pretty fortunate. I'm here in at Levi Stadium. We have a big photographer's room here that could hold, you know, 130 plus photographers. And inside the photo room for me and my staff, I have an office inside here. This is where I keep all my gear, you know, all the equipment and so on and so forth. And our stadium is right next to our facility. So, and inside the stadium on our business level, I have an office there. That's where I'm at, you know, Monday through Friday. And that's where we do all our works with me and my full-time photographer assistant. Her name is Meg Williams, that works for me here full-time. And she sits right across from me, and that's where we're at in the stadium.
Awesome. Yeah. Let me actually pull up because I have some pictures of you at the stadium, I believe.
Yeah, this is at the Super Bowl in Miami last year. You know,
okay.
And, you know, we were taking it in. You know, it's like this was the second Super Bowl that I've been a part of. Now the Niners have won 5 Super Bowls before I got here, and so this is my second Super Bowl with the team. And so me and my crew, as you can go through a couple of photos where, you know, we were, you know, taking in the moment, you know, soaking in. Mm-hmm. You know, you take in that experience, and you know, regardless if you win or lose, it's just an experience that I think all photographers, if you're, you know, football photographer, baseball, basketball, you know, wanting to achieve that high pinnacle and photograph these major events.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I have, where is this? This is just like, look at all this gear.
Yeah, this is when we got there early in the morning. I mean, we were literally there, you know, maybe 12, 14 hours from the total day, because we got there practically before almost the sun came up. And this is where we're setting up, getting our gear together, getting it all set up and ready to go for Super Bowl Sunday. You know,
so
and
tell me about,
go ahead.
I'm sure all these gearheads, like they want to know. Tell me about your gear on, let's just go the full out, because I'm sure you went full out for Super Bowls, right? So tell me about what you brought gear-wise.
Well, so I brought a lot of my gear, a lot of the loaner gear that I have from Canon that I've had. And then also, we also borrowed gear from Canon on site. So Canon comes on site with their CPS services, and they'll let photographers, you know, cameras, lenses, clean gear, so on and so forth. And so, and for the hundreds of photographers that are there. Now, all the photographers are not on the field. Some photographers are shooting up in the stands as well, roaming around the stadium. And so, you know, we've had, you know, all the 1DX Mark IIs, 1DX3s, you know, the 2 to 400, 600 millimeter lenses. You know, we had the full gamut. As you can see, one of my guys is unwrapping some of the stuff we got from CPS over to the right of this picture here. And, you know, we're just on cloud 9. And you know, normally myself, though, I kind of like shoot with 5 cameras during the game. You know, and if I try, and at the Super Bowl, I tried to throw in a 6th one, but it was kind of hard. And people say,
and it's just for the record, it's not 5 cameras like on your body.
Right.
Like,
correct.
How do you manage that?
Right. So I'll have a grip person with me that'll carry at least 2 of them with me.
Okay.
Then I'll have 3, because I have a harness on me carrying 2, and then I may carry a 2 to 400 or 300 or 600 or 400, and we're passing cameras back and forth. But you know, but when, you know, when what I do for the team and what my photographers do for the team is, yeah, we have to capture game action. But if you're looking at, like, say, a home game or a Super Bowl, I mean, you know, there's things that's going on pregame, on the sidelines. We have ownership. We, you know, during our home games here, we have, you know, home game is totally different as well. But there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of things I have to capture, even from what you think from a marketing standpoint and from a partnership standpoint. And so when I got all these cameras and lenses, and, you know, it's a matter from, you know, an 8 to 15 fisheye, or 11 to 24 for wide groups, or, you know, 24 to 70, 16, 35, different lenses to capture different things and create, you know, from a marketing and partnership standpoint, where, you know, some, you know, like AP photographers, Getty photographers, some other they don't have to do as much as I have to do for the organization.
Of course, right. So I'm pulling up, I'm just trying to flip through and find maybe one of these is a picture of your team.
So this is a picture of my team. Let's go back to the other one where you saw the three.
The other one?
So this is in 2012
okay.
at the Super Bowl in New Orleans, right? And this is my crew of photographers that I brought with me to that Super Bowl. And if you see, it's just the three of us. And we also have our other longtime photographer that he's been here for like 47 years. That's, you know, covered all the other Super Bowls back in the day. He was there, but this is my crew that was working with me during that game in 2000.
And this is are they your grip also, or the grip is separate?
No, my grip is separate. My grip is separate, right? So they were actually shooters for me as well. And Kim is in the middle. Ben is on the end. Kim's been with me for almost 14, 15 years as a contract photographer. You know, Ben's been with me just as long as like 12 or 14 years as well, shooting for me. And they help me out with events and other 49er things as well. Now, if you go back to the other group photo with
this one?
Yeah, with the six of us.
Okay.
So this is in Miami in 2019. So as you see, my group of photographers has grown a little bit to cover this Super Bowl, right? So as time goes on, you're responsible for a lot more things to cover. So then you got to have a bigger staff, right? And then if you look at the one where I have a large group on here, right? This one here. So this was my NFC Championship crew for the game before 2009, before we headed to the Super Bowl. And so this one is during our home game. We have a lot to cover, you know, from outside the stadium to partnership, ownership. I mean, there was a lot of things going on, and you have to have a big crew. And a couple of these are my grips that work with me well. We had photographers shooting up in the stands. I mean, it's like it takes a village to get what we need to do. I mean, everything that I do, I could not do it by myself. And so
tell me about these people. Like, where did you find them? What do you look for when you need people to work for you? Or do they also help with the workflow side? Because that many cameras, that's a lot of pictures.
Yes, there is. I mean, you know, it's like, you know, we'll have an editor, we have runners, we have, you know, some people that I've been knowing for years. I'll bring in some new people to cover some other things depending on, you know, if I have openings. So it's a variety. But yeah, we do have editors, runner, and copy because during game days, during a home game, we could shoot amongst, now every one of these are not shooters, and there may be about 4 or 5 people that are not here during the regular season, but I brought in more people for the NFC Championship game in the playoffs. But at the end of the game, we could have anywhere from 25 to 30,000 images.
Oh my gosh.
After a game.
That's crazy.
And then you have to organize them. So that's the process within itself too, though. Yeah. Are
you using like the kind of the tagging information system that the Canon cameras have, particularly now with the 1DX3 with the, I'm going to mess it up, IP something C information that you can plug?
IPC data that we put up. So we'll tag images after the game, right? And so, but we won't tag all 30,000 images, right? So what you got to do, we break them up into different folders, and then we'll pull the highlights from the game of what we're going to do, and then we'll tag specific ones there. You know, but we got to tag coaches' pictures, players' pictures, you know, and things like that. And so we also use Photo Shelter for that, for visibility with all the metadata in there. And then I'm working with Photo Shelter this year as well, where they have artificial intelligence program that would identify players by their maybe face and numbers. So there's something new that we're going to try to introduce. So it's like they'll take
helpful.
Oh yeah, they'll take our roster based on their jersey number and maybe face, and they'll have those, and then we could identify what we want to tag, you know, for that player. So it may be just a player name, certain things like that, and then we'll add more metadata after that and stuff. So like, yeah.
Wow. So tell me about the team, because I kind of like jumped to workflow because I got excited. This is a seriously diverse group of people. How do you find these people? What jobs do they have? Like, what's your process?
Oh, well, you know, it's if you look at it, it is well diverse. I mean, I'm a major, you know, high proponent of diversity in photography, in everything that we do. I mean, it's like if you remember when I was stated back from, you know, when I was bowling. You know, I wanted to be the first African-American to win a title, this and that, so on and so forth. So I'm going to take a page out of Kamala Harris's his book, you know, you're going to be the first, but you won't be the last, right?
Amen to that.
Right, exactly. So the thing is, it's like, you know, you want to be well represented with what you're doing. If it's you know, minorities or females or, you know, certain ethnic groups, it's like you want to be well versed in what you're doing as far as diversity. And the same thing in photography. I mean, when I became an official team photographer for the 49ers, you know, I was, you know, the first African American that was really an official photographer for a team. So, you know, you're always kind of like paving the way, right? And then for others to come after you after that. And so I'm a big proponent of that. And, you know, to be honest, I mean, I would like to see more of that in photography. I mean, you know, there's females that are like now heading up being lead photographers for teams now, you know, around the
Which is so cool. Because when I first came into photography, it was really the wedding world, and it was just all men, older men, actually. And now I think it's more women dominated than anything, but it does vary by genre. So I would expect, just off the top of my head, like most sports photographers would tend to be male because their interests are that. Although I used to want to be a sports photographer when I first started, that was what I wanted to do.
Well, I was going to bring that up because I remember when we first met, right? And I remember I saw you at speaking on the Canon stage in New York a couple of years ago at Photo Plus, and I know they were looking at you to become an Explorer of Light, right? And then when WPPI came and we were standing in Starbucks, and I introduced myself, and so then we started talking. And so then, you know, I told you, you know, I shoot sports with the 49ers, and you told me you wanted to be a baseball player, right?
Yes, baseball.
And so that was pretty intriguing. And I said, that's pretty good, you know, so especially with females in photography and so on and so forth. And I mean, I just think there should be more. I mean, even like when you look at, you know, it's always been a stigma with like coaching in NFL and, you know, having more Black coaches and so on and so forth, you know, and I feel like the same way in photography, it should be more in the NFL and shooting these high profile events, you know.
Well, anytime you want to bring me along, I will happily hold your cameras.
Okay, there you go.
So I have two folders here. I have New Orleans and Miami. Which should I bring up first?
Let's go with the 2012 Super Bowl. That's New Orleans.
Okay, I was gonna say I'm not that.
Oh, sorry.
If the Giants were in it, we can talk about it.
No, I just wanted to give you a couple of highlights from 2012. I mean, you know, it's you know, the bigger the game, the more intensity it is, right?
Are you okay if I show your settings, by the way, if I pull the metadata in?
Oh yeah, that's all right.
Okay,
yeah, that's right.
Okay, just making sure. Because
the
people love to hear that.
Yeah, the bigger the game, the more intense the game gets, the more, you know, your heart's down pounding and so on and so forth. And you know, it's one of those things I wish everybody can experience in covering a Super Bowl, basically, you know, and we can scan through them and stuff like that. But, you know, if you look at it, it's like the Niners had won 5 Super Bowls prior to getting back to the Super Bowl here in New Orleans, right? And, you know, I had been, you know, it's like, I tell people it's like a roller coaster ride because, you know, some seasons you're up, some seasons you're down, some seasons you're up. It's like it's and then when you make it back to the Super Bowl, I remember when we won the NFC Championship game against Atlanta, and I finally said, wow, I get to go to the Super Bowl with the San Francisco 49ers, right? And it's interesting where, you know, and it's just heart pounding because you want that victory, that thrill of victory, right? And the reason why I gave you both these sets of images, because I wanted to show you a specific image, which is this one here, right?
Okay.
And it's like you always have a dream of having getting that winning catch of a Super Bowl, or, you know, and so on and so forth. And we came back in this game. We were down 28-6, and we made a comeback in the third quarter, right? And I always, and I hadn't really seen a lot of these photos until we talked the other day, and right? And I always say, you know, if Michael Crabtree would have caught this pass, we probably would have won that Super Bowl. So people always say, what is the best shot you ever taken, right? And I say, well, let me tell you about the shot that I missed. I didn't miss it, but they missed it right there. And this is one of those things of being in the right position at the right time, you know, having the right camera in your hand and the right lens, right? And being ready for what happens you know, in front of you. And I've learned that from other photographers that used to be with 49ers, where I remember back in the day, I missed a shot that was in front of me. And he taught me later on, he says, make sure you're ready and cover what's in your zone, your area. So if I'm on the left side of the end zone here, right, it's like I only can cover so much of here. So that's why you have other assistants to cover another side of the field.
Yes.
In case something goes over there. So, because you don't want to miss a play for a team, right?
Right.
And so it's like you want to be ready for anything that comes in front of you and be ready, because this could have been the winning catch of a touchdown, right? You know, if I had the wrong lens or the wrong settings, or, you know, I wasn't ready for it, I would have missed it. That was right in front of me, right? But I had a feeling I would have won my first Super Bowl ring if this would have been a catch. And if you look at it, you're only so far away from that catch right there.
So close.
Yeah.
I'm looking at all of your gear and settings. I just want to read them in case it's a little bit small for people to read if they're on mobile. So this year we're shooting with the 1DX.
Yeah.
First.
Exactly.
I think you were on a 70 to 200, at least for this shot, because it says 70, and I assume you weren't shooting with a 2870,
right?
Or 24 to 70.
24, yeah.
I did notice that we're at 2500 ISO to 4000, which to me is like, oh my God, on the 1DX, like I wouldn't have touched that. But these look so clean. You obviously have to go that high because, one, you're not using flash during this, and two, your shutter speed has to be super high to catch the action.
Well, no,
and you
flash.
Can't be all.
No
What'd
flash.
you say?
Can't use flash.
No flash. No, you can't do it.
Yeah.
Because you know, it's funny. A lot of times people look at like where an ISO setting is. They're like, oh, why is it so high? It's like, well, here are your options. One, flash. Nope, can't do that. Two, lower your shutter speed. Nope, I got to boost that. And you can't even lower your aperture too much because you have to have a little bit of give. Even though you're in AI servo, I see you still got to have a little bit of give, especially, that technology was not as good as it is now. Ooh, actually, tell me about the difference between shooting like with this versus, have you shot a game yet with the R5?
Oh yeah, we can get into that one. We'll get into that one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can get into that one.
Is that on the other?
Well, no, it's not because remember the R5 wasn't out when the Miami Super Bowl last year, so it just came out. So let's go with the R5 right now. So when
I'll just put this up.
So when the R5 came out recently this past year, right? It's like I was transitioning over from the 1DX2s to the 1DX3s, right? And then the R5 was introduced. So then I got a loaner of that from Canon, and I'm like, wow. Wait a minute, okay, I like this camera. So my thing is like, how can I work in the mirrorless to my workflow with the 1DX3 bodies, right? Because mirrors are a little different, right? Mm-hmm. And so, you have electronic viewfinder and everything else. So it's kind of like I said, okay. So basically during, this year, during our, training camp practices, I would always shoot some with the R5 to get used to it, right? To get used to it. Because looking through the viewfinder compared to SLR is a little bit different, right?
It is. It takes a minute.
It takes a minute, right? So as the season went on, I found myself starting to use it more and more and more, right? And so I'm totally convinced on with the R5 now, but I still will probably do a mixture with my 1DX3s and the R5s going forward.
Tell me why. Like, what is it that makes you want to shoot with one over the other?
It's maybe, the image quality, the 45 megapixels. I mean, I love the 45 megapixels. And let me tell you why. Because if I'm shooting further downfield where I'm loose a little bit, not too loose, but not too tight. And if I can crop in to make it a 30 megapixel file or 22 megapixel or 20 megapixel file, I'm okay. But if I'm shooting too loose with a 20 megapixel camera, an image, and then I crop in, now I'm losing the resolution, right? So that's one thing I like about the 45 megapixels, right? I love the tracking, the speed of the camera. I can go in silent shutter at 20 frames a second. I love that part of it, right? There's another feature that I was telling a few photographers about is inside the camera, you have these options to do an image crop, right? So I could take my 600 millimeter lens, use the 1.6 crop, and it's a 960 millimeter. So imagine they're down on the 15-yard line, and I wanted to get a shot of the center, or a shot of the left tackle, or if the quarterback goes back to pass and the pocket opens up, it's like, I'm got a nice tight shot.
You're there. Yeah.
Right. Right. But it's giving me almost a 17, 18 megapixel file, and that's good. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But imagine that where I didn't have to leave the end zone. So it's a lot of features within that camera that just seems to work well.
Yeah, because the last thing you need to start doing during a game is running laps up and down the field the whole time.
Exactly. Especially this year during the COVID time, because because I couldn't have any grips, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Tell me, I'm sure everyone wants to know like what you had to do during COVID, so you couldn't have grips.
Right, exactly, because we had to go into some of the other photographers had to shoot from in the stands. The NFL was only limiting on the field of who can be on the field, and so teams were only allowed 2 media personnel on the field. So we, sometimes we rotated off and on with social, video, and photography, and then on the road I did all on the field on the road. And so, so with that, the first game during the COVID time, I tried to carry 4 or 5 cameras,
which was just a regular game, right?
Regular game. And I couldn't do it because I only have so many hands. And then I would have to carry some down to the other end of the field, then go back and get the other one, and then go back. Right? I said no, I can't.
And we're not talking about just a camera. A lot of times you've got a pole on it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So what I did, I was fortunate enough to get loaner gear from Canon, and what I would do is I would leave a 600 in one end zone and a 600 in the other end zone. So then I would only carry my 2 to 400 and then what I had on my shoulder. So now I could just walk down the field with 3 cameras and then use the 600. And then once we changed quarters, I had another 600 on the other end I didn't have to carry. Now there was a lot of people in the field, so I didn't have to worry about anybody trying to steal it or take it or anything like that. Yeah.
That's true. A lot less people than normal. How often do those, I hate to ask, how often do those cameras bang into each other?
They bang a little bit. I mean, I dropped one time, I had to send it in repair, so it's kind of like it happens.
Just once.
But with the COVID time though, it was very challenging because we were getting tested every day. We had
every day.
Every day. I got tested every day from July to when we came back from Arizona, January 4th. Every day.
So like no swab test?
Yes. Every day.
Ow.
Yeah. So that was an experience within itself. But at least you know where you're at, and negative tests and this and that. But during that time, I still limited myself, exposure to a lot of people. I tried to play it safe and
of course
throughout the whole year, just to be with the team.
Was some of that mandated? Like, could the team go out? Like, you're traveling to different games. Like, I remember you saying that you had to travel, but you were like gone for 6 weeks or something, and like couldn't move from your hotel room. Well,
so it was mandated with the team where we couldn't, if we were traveling on the road, we couldn't go out to restaurants. We couldn't, like, say we came to New York to play the Jets and the Giants, but I couldn't visit with anybody. So nobody.
You just texted me like, I'm nearby. Hi.
Right. And so that was, so it was really stringent though, which was good though, because you just don't want to, you don't want to go back and affect the team and so on and so forth.
Right. And obviously as fun as room service every day, all day sounds, it can be a little bit, traveling on your own is just daunting as it is and super lonely. And then you add that to it and that must have had an effect on everyone, I'm sure.
And then in our Santa Clara County, because we had in Santa Clara County where the team is headquartered, there was a high number of cases of COVID-19. And so the county shut us down in like towards the end of November. And so then we couldn't practice or play, any games here, right? So we had to move to Arizona. We moved to Arizona to play at their stadium for like a month. So I had to pack up and leave for a month. Yeah.
And what was that experience like? Actually, John Merstitz, I think I said that right, asked that what was the experience of shooting home games in Arizona?
It was like? So our marketing team did a fantastic job, really transforming the stadium into our branding, right? They put up tarps around the field like what we would have here, would leave our, with Faithful to the Bay, and then they put up, because as you saw around the league, they had tarps of partnerships around the first 8 rows in the stands, right?
Okay.
And so they, we did that with our partnership branding as well. So it made it try to feel like a home game, right? a look and feel. So it really wasn't too bad. Actually, it worked out very well, to be honest.
Good.
But it was different though. I mean, it was different like playing a home game in somebody else's stadium and so on and so forth. But luckily, like the Cardinals are red, so the seats were red, so it worked out well for that.
A little bit familiar-ish.
Exactly. We
let me pull
right in front. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me pull up Miami.
Oh yeah.
So we can chat about that. I'm sure I cheated some photos and then I took them away. So now this is where this is 2019. This is just last year, right? So this is shooting with the 1DX Mark III.
Yeah. Now that's when the 1DX Mark IIIs first came out too as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like the first time I was shooting with the 3s instead of the 1DX2s, And here, if you go back to the other one, that one's with was with a 600. This one's with a 400. So as you see,
this was
yeah.
Yep. And do you feel like these were a lot more clean from like the 1DX, let's just say, having to go so high on your ISO?
Oh yes, as you see, like here's 3200. I think as time went on, because I've had every flagship camera that Canon has come out with since digital, right? And
you have to with what you're doing. And
I've seen the evolution of how from my first digital camera was a 2 megapixel camera in '96 that cost me $12,000, and that's what got.
Oh yeah.
And as you see the evolution, and each camera gets better and better and better, and so now I don't hesitate shooting at 10,000 ISO or 12,000 ISO, depending on what I want to do. Especially in.
What's your workflow after? Do you do a lot of removing the noise after?
No, I don't. I mean, because inside the menus too, you have a noise reduction option that's turned on as well. But even at the higher ISO, it's still clean. I never really, now if I had to shoot something at a 125,000 ISO, probably a different story, right? But like I say, I don't hesitate even at 12,000 ISO now with shooting, and I think the images be clean. Yeah. And then this is another game, and this is another game that we, as everyone knows, we were winning. And unfortunately, they came back to beat us, and it still kind of hurts now because we definitely thought we were going to compete this year, and we had a lot of injuries, and unfortunately, I'm sitting at home, and I'm sitting here sporting my last year Miami's Super Bowl shirt here. But it's funny. I think I gave you a picture of me, or I don't know if you have that one in there. No, you probably don't have that one in there. There was a picture like you saw me smiling, right? The one you used.
You with your holding the camera. I made it the thumbnail for this.
Right, the thumbnail, right? So there's a story behind that picture, right? And the one I showed you on another catch, right, is a friend of mine yelled from me from the stands, right? Mm-hmm. And I pointed at him, right? But we were still winning the game. It was 20-10. We were still winning the game. And it was like, I think 9 minutes to go, right? And I had a feeling we were going to win this game. So I was like pumped up, ready to go. I pointed out, smiled, and unfortunately, 6 minutes later, we were losing, right? And so where's let's see, where's all the thumbnails on this one? I'll show you. So here's another. Here's another.
This one, okay.
Right. So remember, you saw the other catch that I showed you with Crabtree that we missed, right?
Yes.
If this ball here is a little bit further, but if it's a little shorter, right, and Emmanuel Sanders catches that ball, right, we were going to win this game. So I was always saying that we were 2 catches away from winning our 7th Super Bowl, and it was not yet to be. So it's kind of like, so I'm still chasing that elusive Super Bowl ring. Yeah.
So you get a Super Bowl ring if they win?
Yes.
Yeah. That's pretty epic.
One thing I forgot to bring, I was going to bring with me, but in 2012, also teams that if you win your conference, you get a conference championship ring. So I was able to get a championship ring in 2012, and then we just got our rings a couple months back for the 2019 conference championship. So yeah.
Nice. That's pretty cool.
I say I'm collecting rings from bowling to football rings and so forth. Yeah.
What other perks do you get? Just out of curiosity, being in the position you are.
I mean, it's the major perk is having the opportunity to get a championship ring, right? That's the one thing, right? And I say, I'm blessed to be a part of this organization and what I do for such a long time. I was a fan sitting in the stands, at Candlestick, and used to take my camera in the games and shoot pictures from the stands, and then got an opportunity to get on the field. And then had a pipe dream and said, man, it'd be great to get with the 49ers now. Who would ever thought, right? And so, it's funny because back then, I thanked the PR, because the former player got me a pass, and I thanked the PR director at the time, and he said, well, give me a call next time I see what I could do. I didn't ask him, but he offered. I'm like, oh. So I would call him the next game, and he would say, sorry, I don't have anything. He says, check with me next time. He would say it every week, but I would call him every week, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so at the end, this was in '94. At the end, they had made the playoffs, right? And I called him up like I knew him, right? And he says, I said, hey, this is Terrell. He says, sorry, don't have anything, and hung up the phone on me. And I thought I blew everything after that, right? But to make a long story short, I got on with a small magazine, and then that's how I was able to get credentials. And then, in a short amount of time, I got with another company that was doing stuff for the 49ers, their entertainment photography, right? They were doing check presentation, halftime shows, cheerleader stuff, photos when they're on the field and stuff like that. And so I had only been out there shooting for a couple of years. And so the guy says, hey, Terrell, how would you like to do what I'm doing? My knees are getting kind of bad. I'm getting kind of old. Come down to my office and I'll explain to you, right? And you told me what he does. But I asked him, I said, Doug, why me? Why me out of all the people that have been here way before I have? He says, you come in here, you come with a smile on your face, you're pleasant, you say hello to people, you have a good disposition about yourself. He said, I figure you'd be good for the job. Now, he hadn't seen one picture I taken, right? Mm-hmm. But my personality and what I brought coming into the stadium and how I treated people landed me that job. And I tell photographers today, it's like you got to sell your personality, right? Your work's going to follow, but people is going to want to have to work with you, right? And recommend you. So you could be the best photographer in the world and take great pictures, but if you don't have a good disposition and attitude, people are not going to hire you. People don't want to work with you. So that's one of the things I try to tell photographers when I speak is your personality means a lot, right? And I'm a big fan, and I did a lot of, I did weddings for 16 years, and I did a lot of corporate events. I traveled the world with BMW for 5 years doing the high-end events for them, not the car photos, but events.
But the events.
The events and stuff, right? And, even when I did corporate events, it's like you dress like if you're part of the event, right? And if there's going to be vice president, executives, and you do an event, you're going to wear a suit and tie. You're going to want to look nice, right? You don't want to be, I always never want to be, oh, that's just the photographer over there. I wanted to be like,
absolutely.
Oh, wow, look at the photographer, right? I was doing an event at the Ritz-Carlton, and the CEO, she was speaking, and then there was a break. A lady from the audience that worked at the company came up to me and she says, I could tell you really love your job. I said, what do you mean? She says, you were taking some pictures, you looked at the back of the camera, and you nodded your head with a smile. And she says, that guy loves what he's doing. And I'm like, well, you're not supposed to watch me. You're supposed to be at the meeting. People watch you. So it's like you have to really be professional in all of what you're doing. Yahoo was one of my clients for a while. And I would go there, do their corporate meetings, right? And I'd come in my suit and tie, this and that. And the lady that hired me says, Terrell, Yahoo, we kind of dress kind of casual. And so you really don't have to wear, suit and tie, right? So I would take off the tie, took off the jacket, but you could dress down easy, but you can't dress up if you're not ready.
That's so true.
I mean, I know that's outside of sports, but it's just, I just wanted to give the audience a really, a taste of some of the things that I was doing outside of sports that even landed me here to where I'm at.
But it's not outside of sports, because no matter what you're doing, it's about who you are, your brand, what you're representing. And ultimately, if you're a jerk, everyone's going to talk about you, but it's not going to be in the way where they hire you again.
Exactly. And you want to be hireable. That's the thing. And so, and I think that's where it translates to sports. Now, I've also been shooting college sports for San Jose State for almost like 15 years now as well. So I started off doing their football program, they started doing basketball, and then I finally took over all their headshots and team pictures. And now I have a yearly contract with them as well, and covering all of their athletics. Yeah.
Oh, I was going to actually get into that is, you have with the 49ers anyway, a seasonal kind of job, but at the same time, you don't just photograph like just game days. What else do you do for them? And then what do you do in the off season?
So what do I do for San Jose, or what I do for, in the off season here at the 49ers, right? Correct.
Yeah, both. Yeah.
So even though I'm full-time here with the 49ers, right? They still allow me to do my San Jose State obligations as long as there's no conflicts, right? And so, so basically I'm almost working 6-7 days a week, and especially during the season, it is 6-7 days a week. So I would like sometimes leave here at noon to go do some team pictures, right? Or schedule a couple hours there, or I'll go over San Jose State like at 4 or 5 in the afternoon and then do some headshots for their sports there. Some of their sports are like at night or the weekends, right? So I can do it at nighttime, so on and so forth. So the schedule varies. So now on football, I will cover all of football. Me and one of my assistants, Kim, will cover all of San Jose State's football as well as the 49ers. So there may be a time where I'll fly with San Jose State to do a college game on Friday, game on Saturday, fly back Saturday night with them, and do a 49er home game on Sunday.
Wow.
Yeah. And then if I'm with the team, then my assistant will cover San Jose State as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think I know the answer to this question, and I'm not asking you necessarily like, how much money you make, but if you are the official photographer for the 49ers, do you need to have any extra stuff, or do you just hustle and you want to do more and like what you're doing and can't help yourself?
All of the above. Put it that way.
Yeah.
That was a good one. So how can I say this? It's like, I always stay busy. I've always been busy, always been doing something, right? Now, when San Jose State supplement my income for what I do here, and I like to shop, so except for I haven't shopped in a year, so I think I'm good. But anyway, I have a lot of gear. So it's like Canon. People think that, oh, you're sponsored by Canon, this and that, and they don't give us gear. We get a discount, but we still have to purchase gear, but we speak and do certain things like that and put on programs. So, and that's work too within itself. So I love the college stuff that I do. Now, I don't make a lot of money over there, but I just enjoy doing it. Right. Yeah. And so it's really not about how much I'm making. Yeah, we all work to make a living and this and that, so on and so forth, and it works out well. But I've told this story before when I wanted to get with the 49ers full time, right? And when I started with the Niners and I was just contracted and so on and so forth back in the day, I used to turn down $2,000 and $3,000 weddings to not miss a 49er game.
Right.
And I was only making $300, $400 a game for the 49ers.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. Because that's what you loved doing more.
But that's what put me in this room here finally, because that's where I wanted to be. If I didn't miss, if I would say, well, I'm going to miss that game, I don't want to do it because I got a wedding, all right? I'm going to miss this game because I got an event here. If I was missing games, then it would show that I really wasn't dedicated, kind of, sort of. So it wasn't really about the money, it was about the end goal, right?
But also it would like lessen the time you have in front of all those people that eventually saw how great you were.
Right, exactly. And so with that, it's like you gotta know where you want to go, where you want to be, right? And even if there's some sports photographers on here, it's like it's a grind getting to a certain point, right? But you gotta do the time. You gotta like grind and grind and grind until you can get to your end goal, hopefully.
Yeah. Do you do personal projects still?
It's been kind of hard because of being so busy. Now, when I came in full time here, and then all my San Jose State stuff, I had to give up a few things outside. Like say when I was traveling the world with BMW doing high end events, I couldn't do all the things I used to do. So I did really actually take a pay cut outside of everything else that I did to do this here. But then again, it's like, I knew where I wanted to be. And like I said earlier, it wasn't about the money and this and that. It's like, as long as you can make enough to make a living and you're comfortable doing what you're doing, then it's okay. Yeah.
And you're supporting your family, right?
Exactly. Except for my wife. Except for my wife, she does pretty good. She got a nice job, so it's like it's not too bad.
Oh, okay.
But then also you asked about. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was saying you have kids too, though, right?
Yes, but he's older, and he
Oh.
works for the 49ers too. He's an equipment man.
Oh,
Yeah.
very cool.
So I get to see him all the time. He did it all through college, right? And I know people are looking at here. It's like, wait a minute, you're the kid that works for the 49ers, and looking at you here, it's like, how old are you now? We won't get into the age part, but yeah.
No. What were you going to say though?
But you
I had
mentioned
asked you
about what else I do with the 49ers here out during the
yes.
right? Because I know a lot of people have asked about that before. So there's really no off season, kind of sort of, right? So, and if a lot of teams have hired a lot of photographers that are full time. So if you look at like what teams are doing now, right? And what we have here at Levi Stadium, our stadium and this was pre-COVID time, right? There was a lot of events that was going on here. We had concerts, we had Monster Jam here, we've had, WrestleMania here, all kind of events. Well, my job is to document all that here as well during the off season, right? So me and my team of photographers, contract photographers, we would do that. Also, even before the season starts, we have our food service vendor here, right? That for our suites. Well, somebody has to take photos of the food, right? That goes on the menus, goes on their apps, that goes on the iPads in the suites. So I would set up in the club areas and do food photography. So it's like, and I tell photographers, just don't learn how to do one thing, learn how to do multiple things on where, if you're doing some food photography outside, that's another client that you'd have. If you're doing events over here, that's another client you would have. So when I was doing weddings, portraits, product photography, corporate photography, my portfolio was like 7, 8, 10 strong with different clients. So I always had income coming in. So I learned how to do that. So when I came in here, it was like, it made a need that the 49ers and the organization would not have to go outside to hire other photographers to do things.
Yeah, because why would you want them doing that when you're right there?
Exactly.
Like, I got it.
Right. So I was set up to do that, and I had to learn how to shoot food photography and how to light it, how to do, window lights, so on and so forth. Also during the off season, we have our community relations and our foundation department that have events as well, and so we would have to cover that. Even alongside like partnerships and sales. And then naturally getting ready for the next season, we would have like what we call media day, right? With the players, we got OTAs, which stands for organized team activities, right?
Okay.
We would have to shoot. And then we had mini camps, before the season would start. And then we have to do players headshots. So if you take it from the time February after Super Bowls, and then we're almost starting up, when the draft was, because we would cover the draft and draft party, and that's April, March, April, May, June. June comes, April, May, and June, OTAs, mini camps, other events, and then July we would take off a little bit, a couple of weeks right before training camps start, and now you're starting all over again. So that's why I say, and all that in between, you have other events, and it never stops.
Right.
Yeah, and like what I'm doing now is I came in to do inventory of all the gear that I have. Projects I couldn't do beforehand. We have a bunch of artwork around the building that has to be maintained, and some of the frames. I got to do that. I have 2 large format printers here from Canon, so I do all the printing in house as well, right?
Oh wow, I have mine too, and I just have not fully embraced that yet. That's not the easiest thing in the world. It's not like I'm going to print my paper report out,
Yeah, exactly. So so that's some of the things during the off season. So like, yeah.
Awesome. I just wanted to go back to when this was probably my favorite photo. It's what I ended up using as the thumbnail here. Mm-hmm. And then this one I noticed was as low as 1250. So are you full manual when you're setting up, or are you shutter priority, aperture priority? What are you doing there with your exposure as you go through the game?
So if I'm shooting a night game or indoors, everything's always manual, right? Because the lighting is going to be consistent, right?
Right.
If I'm shooting a game outdoors, middle of the day, if it's overcast, I'm going to be on manual because it's, the lighting is not going to change as much, right? Sometimes when you're outdoors, I have a whole big philosophy that I could teach, my strategy on a class for 8 hours one day, just on my thought process of what I'm thinking about what I'm doing. So if it's an overcast day, and I learned this from, I translated from when I used to do portraits into sports on lighting. right? Where's the direction of light coming from? What is your light source? You know, is it stadium lights? Is it the clouds? The sky is none but a big softbox, really, you know, and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
But then if it's a cloudy day and the lighting is consistent, I'm going to go manual, right? But then the clouds could shift to where it can go darker or it can go lighter. So you have to be in tune with as it changes and where your metering is and what it's going to look like. And then you make adjustments from there. During a day game, if it's 1 o'clock game, sunny, 80 degrees out, I'm on aperture priority, right?
Okay.
Because it's like you could be looking down the field in one direction, and then you come over here and it's brighter in this direction. So you want the camera to adjust, in aperture priority. If I'm shooting at 3.5 or 2.8 or 3.2, and I'm at 200 ISO or whatever, it's like I'm gonna let the camera select the shutter speed on that, as long as you're at the faster shutter speed, right?
And I'm curious, why not shutter priority, being that if you get a blurry picture, like, you're screwed?
Well, because I don't want my aperture to vary. So I want to stay at a fixed aperture. So that's why I went aperture priority than shutter priority. Yeah. And that's the only reason why I do it. Yeah.
And then you just watch and adjust your ISO based on kind of where you are. Okay.
Exactly. Because now I'll throw an example for you, right? And this is one, so say, and I'd said this is one of my presentations. So what are you going to do if part of the field is in shade and the other part of the field is in the sun, right? So my philosophy is I'm going to shoot from the sunny side more so from the shady side, right? And there's a reason why, because I don't want to shoot backlit and so on and so forth, right? Now, if they're in the sun, right, and if I was at aperture 3.5 or 3.2 at 200 ISO, and I'm at like 2500ths of a second, right? But if I pan over into the shady side, my shutter speed is going to drop to like below 500, maybe 250. Now, if they go in the shade side, I'm screwed because now I'm too slow for shutter speed, right? So what I'll do is I'll up my ISO a little bit to where I may be shooting at like, 5,000 of a second. But if I pan over into the shady side, I may be at 12/50th of a second or 1600. So once it meters from here and I get into the shade and it's at 1250, I'm still fast enough to freeze the action with a nice exposure because the camera is going to adjust for that. Oh, there's a whole big thing that I have on that and how I do it.
Well, it's so much that you have to think about. And then what do you go for? You mentioned the different lenses that you have. Let's just say you have your 5 camera day.
Okay.
Let's just pretend, like what lenses are you choosing and when are you grabbing them?
Okay. So on a normal day, what I usually have is like, I'll have a 600 millimeter, 400 millimeter, and I used to carry a 300 millimeter, right? And on my side, I would have a 70-200 and a 24-7, right? So when the team is down the field, I start off with the 600. So it's a down in distance. So once they start moving closer and I get tighter, right? If you're shooting with a 600, you're shooting tight. So like say if you're on the quarterback and he goes back to pass, right? You got a nice tight shot. But sometimes when you try to pan, it's like, oh, where
am I?
Right. So as they start to come closer, if I got a couple of tight shots, I go to the 400 so I could see part of the field a little bit, right? And then, I could get a quarterback, get the running back, lineman, and then pan over if he catches the ball or pan and catch and so on and so forth. Now we're inside the red zone, around the 20, 25, right? So now if I'm at the corner end zone or partial corner end zone, it's like if I'm on the 70-200, if they come in front of me or right by the goalpost, I'm good. But if they go to the other side of the field, to the corner, I'm too loose, right? So my 300 would sit in front of me, right? And so it's knowing the tendencies of the team and what they do, right? So are they going to pass or are they going to run? Are they going to come to your side or are they going to go the other side, right?
Yeah, no one's giving you plays.
Right, exactly. So I'm cheating a little bit, right? So either I'm going to hold the 70-200, and as soon as they snap the ball, if they come this way towards me, I'm starting to fire and track down where they're at, right? If they start to go the other way, I let the 70-200 go, I pick up the 300, and then I find them in the corner or coming across on the other side. So where I can have a nice crop distance on that. So it's a process, but it's like, Yeah, it's
I would say, I'm curious, you are like, you learn to anticipate the action, right?
right.
Since you shot weddings first, do you think anticipating action in weddings helped you do that
I think
more
so.
here?
I think so, because by shooting weddings, it's like the moment, right? Is
Yeah.
there a kiss? Is there something? Is there certain things that you turn and see that like, oh, that you can't create? It has to be natural, right? You can't go back and say, hey, do that again. Like I can't say go back and catch that ball again, right? So I think, if it's the bride's dad crying or certain things, the bride coming in, it's like always had to be quick, always had to be quick. So I think I adapted that from even sports, is like anticipating certain things, figuring out what the team's going to do, and hopefully, it happens the way it does. And there's been times where say if a play comes my way one time, right, and nothing happened. Say if it comes again, and then I'm like, oh man, because now it's going the other way, right? So it's kind of like they're only going to come my way, a few times, and then they're going to do something different. Yeah.
Right. So. No, tell me, have you ever missed like a key shot, and like, how did you handle that?
Oh yeah, I have, and I don't take it too well. I don't take it too well. So it was back in my early days learning, and Terrell Lloyd was one of our receivers, and Steve Young was still on the team, right? And so it was a playoff game, and I'm in one corner of the end zone, and Steve goes back to pass, and he almost falls. And I thought, well, he fell. So no, he didn't fall. He stumbled. So he threw the ball, and I was watching the ball and didn't know the receiver's coming to my left, right? So as the ball started to come down, I had the camera here, and I started to pick it up. And by the time, before I got it to my eye, he had already caught the ball. And then by the time I got a picture, he was already down in the touchdown. We ended up winning the game. But I missed that peak part where at the top, where he caught it here. And so I was so upset. Right? And that's when one of our other photographers that's not with us on the team anymore, he kind of like told me how to cover my area, my zone, be ready, have the right lens, and it ingrained in your mind. It's like, and I tell my other photographers, like, whatever's coming to your side, be ready on your side, right? I said, I got my side. If we both get something in the middle where you get one at one angle, I get it the other, we're okay. But be ready on your side of the field to capture it, right? So to make you a better sports photographer, it's like I'm trying to get you in my mindset to say, okay, T told me, do I have the right lens? Is 24-70 is 7200? If I got 7200, okay, I'm good. If you're on your 2 to 400 and you still have it in your hand and they come to your side, now you're too tight at 200 millimeters, even and everything is like, full body here. And now you just come across the end zone and this and that. So it's like, yeah, but there's still times where, you fumble stuff up, but nobody's.
Do you shoot with both eyes open?
No, only can shoot with one eye open. Only can shoot one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Some people I didn't know if you had to be like here and then looking at everything else. And
no. But sometimes, like I said, when I tell you if I'm in the end zone, sometimes I have the camera up here, and I'm before I put it up I'm looking at both eyes to see where it's going, because then I can be ready just to go real quick. So it's like, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Do you ever keep it up to your face and that's where you're looking through the action?
Oh, I've done that before too. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just curious because it's like everybody has their way of doing that, and sometimes it varies. And some people are like, no, it's this, and this.
Yeah.
Has anyone ever like hit you, like player run into you or ball smack you in the lens?
I've come close. Knock on wood.
Okay.
I've come close, but I will get up in a minute to get out of the way. I say that now. But there's been 2 times where one time we were in New Orleans, and one of the receivers was getting ready to dive for a pass, right? And the ball came flying by me. They dove, and I was on my knees, and I had to move real quick to the right, and he flew right by me, right? Or else I would have got hit. Then there was about a year.
That hurts.
There was a year or so ago, sometimes when the team is backed up close to the end zone, I would get down, a lot of photographers would get down low to shoot low off the ground. And the quarterback, Dak Prescott, went back to pass, and our lineman came after him, right? And they hit him, right? And he was coming like right where I was at. And I took a couple pictures, and I was getting ready to get up, and I froze, and he landed right in front of me. And I didn't know.
Oh, my word.
Yeah. I come close. Just like
That,
you say this one here with, sometimes when they're sacking the quarterback, if they're in the end zone, they're running back. The thing is too, it's like sometimes I'll key on a linebacker or a lineman. Sometimes I'll key on the quarterback, depending on what's what, right? So if the quarterback goes back to pass and he goes one way and then goes the other way, that means somebody's coming, right? And so that means because now they're trying to run, they don't know which way they're going. And then I start firing. And the next day I know I got a sack or something like that.
right, exactly. Do you have multiple photographers? You like, I don't know if you walkie-talkie or you talk to them and be like, this play, I got the quarterback, or this play, I got the wide receiver because you think it's going that way? Or do you assign people, or you just all try to grab the action wherever it is from where you are?
Well, we try to strategically, it's like if I'm on one side of the field, and say if I got 4 or 5 photographers out there, right? Everybody has to be spread out in an area where, like, you wouldn't be a few feet away from me on the same side that I am, right? But if I'm in the end zone, say mid end zone, corner, in between the goalpost and the goal line, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could be on the goal line shooting down the goal line on the other side, which is okay because now you got a different angle, right?
Right.
But you wouldn't need to be at the pylon and I'm right over here. It wouldn't work. So everybody has to move accordingly, right? And all my photographers know the system, how I work, right? And it's almost like if I move, you move, right? And
Yes.
and my philosophy around that is, I may think about if I'm on one side of the end zone and say you're on the other, if I get up to come over to your side, that means you have to move.
You're moving. That's exactly how I play wedding ceremonies.
Oh, really?
Because if I'm in the center, then you're going to be on this side. If I start coming to you, then your job is to go center or the other side. And we do this like round and round little dance.
And sometimes my photographers, they'll look at me and like, oh, here he comes. So I guess I got to move. Right? So
they're like, man, I wanted this angle.
Yeah. But it's like I try to get, since I'm shooting with 5 cameras and doing a lot of different things, and you may have 2 cameras, you're still doing what you do, but there's certain things that I'm trying to capture at different times, right? Now, this has happened before. So like, say if I go to your side of the field, right, and you go to my side, and then the touchdown went on your side where you moved to, and now I missed it because I moved. But it's like, but that's okay.
Yeah.
You got the shot. I mean, my whole thing is like, back in the day when I was doing a lot of pictures and trying to make my way, and it's not about me getting every shot anymore, right? I have a team of photographers. Right. We try to work cohesively as a team. And if you got the shot, it's like, I'm elated you got the shot because it's all about what we do for the team. Because at the end of the day, if we win the Super Bowl in Miami, we all get a ring. So,
right. That's how it is.
And at the end of the day, when our social or web, design team, their expectation is that somebody has that shot, right?
Right.
It's like when you look at other photographers that are shooting AP, Getty, this and that, so on and so forth, they come out with certain assignments, this and that, right? When you're shooting for a team, you got to get everybody, right? My job is to get the center, the guard, the tackle, the long snapper, the punter, the kicker, right? The special teams guy. There may be a guy that hasn't played all season that gets in the game and they'll come to you, hey, did you get a shot of me in the game? So you got to be in tune with what's happening with whatever player hit that field at some point, right? And even if you're covering a certain side of the field, it's like you say, okay, if you're on my left side and you're on one side of the field and I'm on the right side, right? That means you have the right guard, the right tackle. I have the left guard, the left tackle, right? So it's kind of like, so you may get a better shot of a lineman than I could get from where I'm at. So you got to make sure that you're at least getting some ISO shots of the guys over there as well. And then you got to still concentrate on getting game action. So your mind has to always constantly be working and working and working.
That is why you end up with 30,000 photos at the end of the game.
Exactly. Now with the R5, right? And shooting at 20 frames a second. Oh, imagine that. The camera's going to go up, right? And so if the cameras are getting faster and I incorporate, maybe 2 more R5s in there or 3 as time goes on, right? Imagine that my number is going to increase tenfold,
Right.
Yeah.
And are you, because I know you said you have runners, you have editors, do you go through your photos at the end of the day, kind of critique yourself, or do you just look at the highlights that your editors have pulled?
So, at one point back in the day, I used to do all the editing, right? I would go like a candlestick. I would go to get to the game about 9 o'clock, so on and so forth, get home, and I'm working till 9, 10 o'clock, right? But that's when I had a smaller staff, right?
Right.
After hiring a full-time photographer, and an editor, it's like for the first, 4 years, 3, 4 years, 5 years? I'm losing track of how many times. But anyway,
Long time.
but just this last season, I changed the process. So now you will be responsible for your group of images, right? So you would edit your own and pull out your own highlights, right?
Okay.
I would edit my own, my other photographer edit their own, the other assistant would edit their own, and then we combine the highlights from there. So now she wouldn't have to edit everybody. So she's been editing everybody's, all 30,000 and pulling and so on and so forth. But then again, I had to give up for years, what I want to say, I can't think of a term, but the comfort of pulling my own, knowing that I'm trusting you to pull the best shots, right? Now,
right.
Photography is so subjective, right? It's kind of like I can give you, 25 images, give somebody else 25 images and say, okay, pick me your best 10, and they pick their best 10, and, you're not going to come up with the same images. You may have 18 images that somebody picked and so on and so forth. So yeah.
Well, guys, I don't want to keep Terrell forever because we could talk forever. Oh. But if you have any questions, put them in the chat and I will read them off here. There was one that I saw. Arugel said, how do you find shutter roll shooting action at 20 frames per second with the R5?
Say that again. How do I find the
rolling shutter?
Rolling shutter.
Have a problem with? Yeah.
Well, shooting action and the running, you don't really see the rolling shutter that much, right? I think, I saw it when I was shooting golf a little bit, where the golf club was bent a little bit. I tried shooting, up close something where at the end of practice, the players would get on this machine and they would catch balls real quick, right? And what I tried to do was get a shot before the ball got there and their hands here and I could see their face, right? Well, the ball, I could notice it wasn't completely like a football the way it would be. It was like oblong and this and that. I noticed the rolling shutter there. But anything when they're running fast and that, you don't really see it too much. It's only, I think, in certain objects where you're trying to get it. So it's not, it doesn't bother me. If I was shooting golf with it, it'd be a different story.
Right. Yeah, because you've got that nice long stick that you're really going to see. You'd be like, that's not straight.
Exactly. Exactly. But I don't see it in a problem with when I'm covering basketball that, I shoot for San Jose State, haven't seen it there. I think I don't see any. I'm going to shoot probably volleyball in about an hour and a half from now. And that'll be the first time I shoot with the mirrorless on that one. But I think they'll address that issue later on down the line coming forward, though. Canon will. So
as technology does. Patty Mattis says, how do you handle that many cameras? And I guess pre and post COVID, since I don't think she heard the story.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, I cut back a little bit from this year on the COVID side. So I'm trying to reduce really the number of cameras that I carry. So remember, if you're on earlier, where I say I used to carry a 300 with me. So, and the 300, 400, and 600. So now I'm trying to eliminate the 300 and just stay with the 2 to 400 and the 600. And I'm eliminating my 400, right? The only thing is with the 2 to 400 is that 4, right? And, I like, my 2.8 lenses, right? But with the 2 to 400, I can zoom in and out. It's just hard if they get in the red zone with shooting with the 2 to 4, if they're across the field, compared to if I had the 300 in front of me. So I'm reducing the number of, cameras that I'm doing, and then trying to figure out this year what lenses I'm gonna do. Because, with the RF lenses, I just got, just the other day, the 28 to 70 f2 lens, right? I like shooting at f2. And
that's what I have on my camera right now.
I like shooting at f2 when I'm in the locker room or tunnels where it's low light. Before I was using my prime lens, I had a 24 and a 35, lens as well. And I would shoot that at f2, but that's 2 lenses. So now I don't have to carry that. So trying to reduce a few things that, and then I have, what do I have back here? A double harness that I use, You can see that. So this one goes on here. And so now it won't slip off of my shoulder. So I'm carrying the cameras here. So when I'm running down the field, it won't fall off. So I've been using these for a long period of time and stuff like that. So, and then I have a think tank modular system that I carry all the stuff with, stuff like that. So yeah.
Cool. There's one other question I thought was really interesting, especially since a lot of, we're looking at all your awesome shots, right? And these are your highlights. These are the best of the best. And Richard basically asked if editing on your own, like looking at all the pictures you took, what's your success rate? Like you took 10,000 pictures that day. How many are you actually editing that you like, that you feel are shots you've nailed and are going to deliver?
Well, I mean, I would say it's kind of hard because everybody's going to get out of focus pictures, soft pictures where the focus didn't capture, even though the focusing, and focusing is much better now than it was, 3, 4, 5 years ago. Right. It's just a matter of, you got to remember you're panning, they're running, you got to, your center focusing point, you got to catch them, make sure, it didn't, focus on something else or something like that. But, you eliminate those. I mean, if I had, say, for example, shot 5,000 images in a game, right? And I'm pulling out highlights. It all depends on the flow of the game, right? It could be a slow game where, we didn't, scored 10 points compared to like if you scored 30, right? And you got a lot of plays, a lot of action. That's going to determine your keepers and things that you pull out, right? But then again, you're still pulling out, quarterback shots, running back shots, alignment, here and there. So I could pull out anywhere from 300 to 400 what I call highlights from a game from that I shot, right? Okay. I think the thing is like, depending on, which ones are, are soft. It's like if I got a touchdown catch with a fingertip, if it's soft, I'm not using it. If it's sharp, I'm good, because I'm not going to show. I was taught show your best work all the time, right?
Yes.
Just because if it's a little soft, you say, "Well, I got it." No, you didn't. It just
no.
didn't.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. So, and like when you're showing portfolio and this and that, you always, like if you have your website or if you're on Instagram or whatever, always have your best work out there, and because that's going to represent you as a whole.
Right. Absolutely. Lord knows someone sees one bad picture you took and they judge you by it. So
exactly.
I'll just one last question, because it's a question basically everybody is asking. Mirko PS is asking, how do you hire your staff? Because the ultimate question is, can we come work with you?
It's funny. Everybody wants to go work with me. That's, which is good. I hire everybody all the time. It's like I said earlier, though, I look for personality. I could teach you my style of shooting, right? That's the thing.
Right.
And I could teach you what I'm looking for, or tell you what I'm looking for, right? But it's like, say, for example, if like we have suite photos that we have to do of people, right? For one, do you get along well with people? Are you pleasant, right? Then the thing is, it's like, how do you interact with them? Trying to corral groups of people together to do a photo, right?
Right.
The thing is, it's like now the sticking point is, do you know your ISOs, f-stops, and shutter speed? How to expose a properly, exposed picture by using a flash. Do you know how to use a flash? Things like that. That comes into play as well, right?
Of course.
So even if it's to the point, making manual adjustments to the flash or adjusting what you have to do in the camera, that's a big key as well. But depending on where you live, you never know. Now, I do travel around the country, right? Now, I don't know what it's going to be like post-COVID. I don't know if but I may come to a city near you, so it's like, you never know. You can always look me up on Instagram and stuff like that.
Well, you have a lot of volunteers in the chat right now. So if you ever need, you can just come back to this chat, take a look, and
but hopefully, but you're on my list for next time. If I come out to the East Coast and I'm able to have, grips again. It's like, but I know you're chomping at the bit. I wanted to do it last year, but it's like, everything shut down.
All the dreams got crushed.
But
I will happily. I've been lifting like crazy so I can hold any lens you got.
and I move around the field like it's like
perfect.
Yeah, it's crazy. Up and
I
down.
got it.
Yeah.
Fit photographers. You got a lot of gear and you need to run with it.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for doing this. Seriously, it's been so much fun. There's been nothing but positivity in the chat. You guys who are watching, make sure that you follow him. I've already put Terrell's information, his website. You can take a look at all his work, not just the sports stuff. You've got your headshots and portraits on there, events, and obviously a whole gallery dedicated to the 49ers. And then I have his Instagram linked there too. Give him some love, give him a follow. And Terrell, thanks so much. Anything else you want to say? Maybe leave people with a little bit of hope if this is their dream they're looking to follow?
Well, thanks for having me, Vanessa. I really appreciate it. I know it was unscripted. I mean, we just off the cuff and what we wanted to do, and that's what makes the best of it anyway. I mean, it's like never give up on your dreams. That's what I tell people. I'm a true testament to that, right? I've done everything that I said I was going to do in life, from becoming a professional bowler to getting with the 49ers to even working my corporate job. We didn't talk about that, but working my corporate job in IT for many number of years here in Silicon Valley. And even that has a story, because in school, I was taking computer science classes and I had a fascination about computers. And then after I got off the tour, I got a job and working in a company in their data center. So I believe it's like, I tell college students and other people, it's like, you may not know how you're going to get there, right? You may not know the steps, but if you put it in your mind to say, this is what I want to do, things going to come to it in a certain way, and you're going to figure out. And it's all about networking too, with people that are doing what you want to do, and meeting those people and so on and so forth, and willing to help. And it's like, and then it'll come, but it's evolution isn't time. It's like, it's like starting in kindergarten and going on to high school and college, and then, achieving your goal from there. But I'm not saying starting
working your butt off the entire time.
Exactly. But yeah, this has been fun. I really appreciate it. So yeah.
Yes, thank you so much. Everyone's saying thank you in the chat, and very good, really fun and interesting. And it was great. So perfect. I'm going to end the stream, and then, what'd you say?
I hope they had some great takeaways from it. So I was like,
Yes, definitely. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.